Whisky Club here, and it's been pointed out by a few of our resident peat freaks that we've been a bit mean with our peated picks lately. In fact, I'm told it's been around 8 months since we ran a peated whiskey, and so this month we're going to make up for that by running 2 peated whiskies. Our malt of the month is from Kinglake, and a club exclusive 700ml bottling of their flagship whiskey, the O'Grady's Stand. And to back that up, our members extra is from Byron Distillery with their first ever peated whiskey, their peated Chardonnay cask. Now, Kinglake Distillery are the first and currently only carbon neutral distillery in Australia, and they are one of the very few, the only one I know of actually, that use completely untreated, unfiltered water sourced from a spring on their own property. Kinglake are also one of the very few Aussie whisky distilleries that are open fermenting their wash, thus incorporating the local wild yeasts into their flavour profile. Now, Kinglake incorporate 25% of peated Scottish malt into every mash bill they ferment. Having said that, this really isn't a peated whiskey that is going to shape up and want to brawl with you. In fact, Kinglake themselves are reluctant to have their whiskey called peated, as the peat plays a very nuanced role in their end product rather than being the feature of the product. The O'Grady's Stand is matured in 50 and 100 litre American oak casks for 4 years and bottled at 46%, which really perfectly suits the big shoulders of this fantastic whiskey. So here it is in all its 700ml glory, and let's just take a minute here to thank the great peeps at Kinglake for all the work they've done to get the Single Malt Whisky Club a special 700ml bottling of this, and at a phenomenal members price of only $129, which is quite a hefty discount if you do the maths. But more importantly, how does it taste? Well, the colour, it's a little bit darker than a sort of a bourbon cask for 4 years, but as we know, colour doesn't mean a whole heap. What does mean more is what it smells like, which is, oh look, it's lovely dried apricots hit me first up, then there's a bouquet of floral notes, there's jasmine and frangipani, and there's sort of a rainstorm petrica. There's vanilla pods. Oh, freshly sliced vanilla pods, and there's that new leather belt sort of note hovering around there in the wings. When I go back after I finish the glass, there is a smokiness in there, that in the glass itself, that's much more apparent in the freshly finished glass than when I first start nosing a freshly poured glass like this. So on the palate, there's a lovely oiliness on the palate. Only a medium warmth, but that precedes a real wave of fresh pastry notes. More of those vanilla and custard tones in there as well. There's a warm leather mustiness on the palate with sweet caramel and sultanas. And on the finish, citrus, that's what I thought I was missing. And there it is, and it comes in on spades in the finish, presenting as a real lovely candied peel. Finish is warm and chewy, and it's still going on now. Oh, it's so good. Look, whilst this is definitely a peated whiskey, I guess it's very, very mild and gentle peat indeed. Much more a musty caress than burning rubber in a hospital ward. The American oak qualities of citrus and vanilla come through clear as day, especially the citrus towards the finish there, and really make this lovely whiskey pop for me. Yum. And now onto our members extra, which is from a relatively new Aussie whiskey brand, but one that has been co-founded by an absolute industry legend. The Byron peated Chardonnay cask is this distillery's first dive into peat, and what a delightful premiere it is. Now, one of the co-founders of Byron is none other than Jim McEwen, MBE. No less than 52 years in the whiskey industry, formerly of 𝒏𝒂𝒅𝒏𝒄 as head distiller for 15 years. Jim has also won the odd award for his distilling prowess, like 3 times International Master Distiller of the Year and Master Distiller Hall of Fame Lifetime Achievement Award back in 2014. Yeah, Jim knows a bit about making whiskey, and he's passed this knowledge on to the other co-founder and distiller of Cape Byron, Eddie Brooke. This is the first peated whiskey from Cape Byron. The whiskey was crafted using unpeated malt that was matured in an ex-bourbon cask and then finished in an ex-Chardonnay cask, which was then married with peated ex-bourbon cask for that sort of extra depth of flavour layered in. Bottled at a very satisfying but not over the top 51% ABV. There it is. There's the colour. Goldy dark straw. But how does it taste? On the nose, the Chardonnay lineage jumps right out on the nose. It's dry, very little sweetness at all, except for a slight sort of flower petal note, just a little vanilla, and just a hint of that peated percentage of this whiskey with a mussiness sitting in the background waiting to be noticed. The palate, yeah, much oilier, and much less astringent on the palate than I was expecting from the nose. Positively creamy, in fact. Wow. Peat comes out to play a lot more in the palate than it does on the nose, but it's still by no means imposing. It sits very comfortably around the citrusy vanilla flavours. By no means just a spectator, but certainly no bully. And the finish, it is a lovely chewy finish once again with more of all of the above. Then there's a curtain of a fresh nut butter descends and changes it all. Wow, as it slowly fades. I was not expecting that nuttiness in here. So that's it for March. 2 peated whiskies, sure, but neither are going to beat you around the palate with burnt rubber or band-aids and bitumen. Rather, these are both delicious examples of the delicate nuances that peat can add to a whiskey when used sparingly rather than smotheringly. The Kinglake O'Grady's stand in the exclusive Single Malt Whisky Club 700ml bottle, and the first peated whiskey from cool new kids on the block, Cape Byron Distillery, their peated Chardonnay cask. Once again, I'm probably getting both. I'm Brad Wright. Until next month, stand by.